Hello everyone. This is the story of what if Naruto became the keeper of Hinata's fragile heart. The deal. Italics are thoughts. It was a clear and sunny morning as Naruto cheerfully walked to his team's usual meeting spot. Along the way, he had taken the time to wish everyone who crossed his path a delightful morning. Among the adults, his acts of basic courtesy earned him nothing more than resentful stares, but he did not care. He was in too good a mood for it to be ruined just yet. Admittingly, he was busy wondering why his sensei, Hitaki Kakashi, had asked them to meet at this particular hour, instead of the usual time, which was around 2 hours earlier. As he rounded the last corner, he was surprised to see his sensei already there and not even reading that annoying book of his. This was definitely not going to be a normal day. "Ah, there you are, Naruto," said Kakashi in greeting, "and it looks like Sasuke and Sakura are here as well," he added as the couple appeared around the corner. Sakura was gushing over Sasuke as she usually did, and Sasuke was not paying her much attention, which was normal for the nonchalant heir of the Uchiha clan. "Oh, Kakashi-sensei is here on time," thought Sakura to herself. It was definitely not something that happened every day. "It looks like I won't be able to train you guys today," announced Kakashi in his neutral voice. "What?" exclaimed Naruto and Sakura in unison. Hey, let me finish. Tsunade-sama has informed me that she wishes to assign us a C-rank mission, although it'll most likely turn into a B rank. Anyway, you guys go ahead and do whatever while I work out the details of the mission." With that said, the gray-haired Junin pulled out his favorite book, Come Paradise, and proceeded to leave before he added, "Oh Naruto, try to stay out of trouble this time. I'd hate to have another repeat of last week." "I already told you that it wasn't my fault," proclaimed the blonde ninja. After their sensei had left, the three ninjas stood around, wondering about what they were going to do. "Oh, Sakura-chan, how about we go and eat some ramen? I'm about to die from starvation." After so many months of trying to go out on a date with his crush, Naruto had pretty much given up hope. He only continued to ask her out as a joke to himself, but his two teammates did not know and still thought his actions to be genuine. "Hey, what makes you think she'd want to eat ramen with you, dead last?" said Sasuke with an especially malicious snicker. "Don't call me that," yelled Naruto, anger clearly marked on his face. Maybe I went too far this time, wondered black-haired Uchiha. Although he would hate to admit it, Naruto was giving him the creeps. He had never gotten so angry before when he teased him. "Why do you keep calling me that?" demanded the furious ninja, quivering in anger. "Yes, give in to your anger, it will make you stronger," rumbled a voice. "What? Why would I want to do that?" demanded Naruto. "What the hell are you talking about?" growled Sasuke. "You mean you didn't tell me that stuff about giving into my anger?" "Of course not, you total moron. But then, who did?" wondered Naruto out loud. His anger had vanished as fast as it had appeared. That voice he heard was bothering him. He knew it was not a figment of his imagination, so then where did it come from? "Peef, like I know. You probably imagined it," replied Sasuke with another snicker. "Well, I'm going to go get some ramen," announced Naruto with grin. "Later guys." Even with the thought of ramen in his head, the strange voice still troubled him. Hands in his pockets, he strolled towards his favorite ramen stand deep in thought. He barely noticed that he had already arrived. Naruto was such a frequent customer that the owner did not even have to ask him what he wanted. He already knew the young ninja's favorite meal, so whenever he saw him, he would have a steaming bowl of ramen already served. The blonde genin needed no further urging as he settled into a stool and began to devour his meal. All the while though, he continued to think about what the voice had told him, about what would have happened had he actually let his anger take control of him. It would have felt good to release it all at once, he knew. His rivalry with Sasuke had caused him quite a few bouts of anger between the two of them, but never had he really let it all out. "I wonder what it feels like," he mused. On the way home from the ramen shop, Naruto was in a much better mood now that he had food in his stomach. Even the adults appeared not to glare at him as hard as they usually did. To top it off, Konohamaru and his friends had not even attempted to get him to play with them. He thought it cute that the three kids wanted to play with him so much, but after a while it annoyed him, especially when they came to him after he was exhausted from training. Turning onto his street, Naruto was silently relishing the thought of gaining a few extra hours of sleep. If there were two things in life that he thoroughly enjoyed, it was sleep and ramen. As he was lost in his blissful thoughts, he barely heard a voice. "Why didn't you listen to what I said back there, boy?" rumbled the voice. "What? Who's there? Who said that?" yelled out Naruto, turning around to see who was behind him. Nobody was around. He was the only person visible on the street. If nobody was around, then where was the voice coming from? "I think you already know the answer to that question," continued the voice in its usual growl. Letting out an audible gasp, Naruto dashed into his house, slammed the door shut, triple locked it, and leaned against the door, panting ever so slightly. "What kind of genjutsu is this?" wondered the young nin. "You really are thick, you know that." Although possessing a formidable stamina and resistance, nature was not so kind to Naruto in the intellect department. It took him a full minute to realize that genjutsu was not being used, and another minute to realize who was talking to him. Are you, Kyubi?" Naruto stammered, even in his thought. "Very good, I knew you weren't a hopeless case," replied the Nine-Tails demon with more than a hint of sarcasm. "How is it you're in my head?" he asked curiously. The demon let out a mental sigh. "Of all the newborn in Konoha, I had to be sealed in a ramen-obsessed fool. It could have been an Uchiha, or a Hyuga, but no, sometimes life is exceedingly cruel. Hey, instead of insulting me, why don't you tell me what you want?" The sudden arrival of the Nine-Tails' presence somewhat scared Naruto. Did the seal break or something? He thought to himself. Sadly, the seal is still as strong as ever, but that is of no matter. "What? How did you do that? Can you read my mind?" yelled out the confused genin in his mind. Another sigh. "Maybe I'm just wasting my time," the demon thought, more to himself than for Naruto. "My spirit is sealed within your body, therefore adding not only my chakra to yours, but my thoughts are now your thoughts, and vice versa. We cannot hide anything from each other." "What? Then how come I couldn't hear your thoughts these past years?" "Mostly because you were too thick to notice me," snickered Kyubi. "Now, although my body was destroyed, I still possess my considerable knowledge." "Whoa, so do you know, like, a bunch of really cool jutsus? You really do have a one-track mind. I know all manner of jutsus and genjutsus. I have also assimilated every technique your fellow village members used against me when they tried to stop me. I could even teach you the sealing jutsu that your fourth Hokage used against me," the demon finished with a mental grin. Whoa, the thought of so many jutsus at his disposal boggled Naruto's mind. Maybe Sakura would start liking him, though that was a far cry. "Since you are my host, I naturally don't want anything to happen to you, so therefore you become strong, just like you dreamed, and at the same time you protect me." Hi. Sounds good to me. Excellent. However, if I am to train you, I expect complete obedience from you as is due to a sensei. Anything less and the deal is over. Right. So what are we going to do now? Train? Naruto asked gleefully. I knew you were going to say that. All right, as you know you have an immense amount of chakra, too much for your body to control properly as it is. There are two solutions to this problem. Either you spend an exorbitant amount of time refining your control, or the shorter, but harder, solution is to train your body to be able to handle the chakra. I prefer the latter myself. Yay. Me too, but what should I do? Asked the blonde ninja a bit too enthusiastically, which earned him another sigh. Well, right now you're going to run 10 laps around the village. What, 10 laps? Are you crazy? Yelled out Naruto in his mind. Remember, complete obedience, grumbled the demon. I mean, hi, right away. Already, an hour had gone by and Naruto was only on his 4th lap around the village. His clothes were all but soaked through with his sweat and he still was not allowed to get a drink of water. After he completed his 2nd lap, the demon decided he was to do 100 push-ups and sit-ups at each gate as well. This exercise was by far the most tiring training he had undergone yet. By the 6th lap, the gate guards were placing bets on how many times he was going to circle the village. At the 7th, Naruto's steps became more and more unbalanced and irregular. The thought that he might very well collapse from exhaustion was now very real. I can't go on anymore, he said to himself. Do you want to appear weak in front of everyone, boy? Demanded the fox demon. No, of course not, but I really am too tired, replied Naruto. Boy, this isn't just about you training yourself. It's also about proving to them what you are capable of. Yay. I guess. You've seen them as they look at you. They hate you, and no doubt you hate them too. Naruto did not understand why the demon brought it up. He knew all too well that the village adults, and the children too, hated him for the 9 tails sealed inside of him. Why did they hate him so? It was so unfair. He never liked thinking about his situation, but it was too late. The demon had already struck a sensitive nerve and his anger was beginning to rise. Yes, that's it, give in to your anger, only then can you be truly strong. The demon was right. Already as a child, he had developed a hate for the adults who regarded him as the 9 tails boy. His desire to achieve the Hokage title was merely a direct result of his desperate need for love, but nobody was there to provide it for him. It was all he could do not to bellow with rage as he pressed on with his training. As he finished his last sit-up, Naruto dropped his head to the ground, not caring about hurting himself, and gazed up at the sky. He did not realize it was so late. It was almost pitch black, but at least the stars were shining brightly. It was the first time he was actually doing nothing but looking at stars, and he wished he had done it more often. The peacefulness was rather enjoyable. He could not stay in the outskirts of the village for the whole night though. He needed to get back to his house so he could properly rest after such a grueling workout. Standing up proved to be a lot harder than he thought at first. Every muscle in his body was aching. It hurts even to breathe, he thought to himself. Walking back to his house was even more difficult as he could barely even keep standing. Many times he had to pause to catch his breath as well as support himself by leaning on a tree. After many pauses, Naruto finally arrived in front of his house. Once inside, he made his way to the bed, but as he was about to lie down on it, the demon spoke up. No, not on the bed. You must sleep on the floor during the training. Too tired to argue, the boy simply let out a groan and dropped himself down onto the floor. Within minutes he was sound asleep. Finally awake, You really do need to learn how to control how much time you sleep. Naruto awoke to the demon's voice inside his head. It was not the most pleasant of experiences, but he had worse. How is that even possible? Asked Naruto, sounding sleepy, even in his mind. You will learn in due time. Now, I expect that you can barely move your body without it hurting, right? The demon was right. Even the slightest contraction of his worn-out muscles sent searing pains throughout his limbs. Not even his rapid healing had repaired his muscles from the previous day's grueling workout. I suppose this is an appropriate time to teach you your first healing technique, announced Kyuubi. Oh cool. Is it gonna be, like, instant regeneration or something like Tsunade-sama's technique? Oh man, that was cool as hell. Rattled the blonde genin, momentarily forgetting about his sore muscles. Not at all. Now pay attention. This technique requires extreme concentration, so get into the lotus position. Naruto's muscles vigorously protested as they were placed in a most uncomfortable position. He harbored his own thoughts about the effectiveness of the lotus position in facilitating meditation, but he obeyed the 9 tails without a word. Now, the technique works by flowing your chakra through your whole body, starting from your head, down to your toes. It will not be easy because your chakra control is not precise. How do I know if I'm doing it right? Try thinking of your chakra as warm. That should put you on the right track. Otherwise, the rest is up to you. Alright, I'm gonna do this, declared the ninja to no one in particular. It was easier said than done, of course. After concentrating for a few minutes, the young genin concentrated some chakra in his head. Gotta think warm, he reminded himself. The only problem was, as soon as he started flowing the chakra down his neck, the energy in his head would disperse. He tried again, but still it dispersed. Man, this is harder than I thought it would be. Several attempts later, Naruto had successfully gathered chakra all the way to his lower chest. The fox had not told him of the crucial trick to complete the technique. After several failures, he realized that the chakra needed to be anchored to his body. Perfecting this trick had frustrated him to no end. At one point, he nearly gave up, but the demon reminded him, save your anger for another time, for when you really need it. Kyuubi was right, of course. Angering himself over something so small was useless. Instead, he redoubled his efforts, and to his surprise, he succeeded without too much trouble. Filling the rest of his body with chakra was no longer a losing battle. Once his body was filled, he realized he did not know what to do now. With all the energy charged up in his body, the only sensible thing to do was releasing it. Expelling the chakra from his feet, Naruto noticed his body stopped hurting, as if he were pushing out the pain through his feet. "Whoa! I feel great," he exclaimed. "Very good," rumbled the demon. "I never expected you to grasp the anchoring concept that quickly. There might be hope yet for you." As Naruto stood up from his meditating position, his grin was as large as ever until Kyuubi announced, "Now, run 12 laps around the village with 120 push-ups and sit-ups at each gate." "What? Already? I just got healed." The blonde ninja yelled out loud. The demon simply ignored it. He figured that Naruto was Naruto and his complaining would never cease. The 12 laps around the village did not take as long a time to finish as the previous day, but he was still drenched in sweat, and he could barely stand up. On top of that, as he finished his 11th lap, his feet tripped on themselves from exhaustion and he fell face first on the ground. Thankfully, he still had stamina to get back up and continue running. Despite his accidents, Naruto still felt good about himself. He always did after training. "Now would be an excellent time to use that healing technique I taught you," suggested the demon. Hi," responded Naruto. This time around, the young genin completed the technique a full 10 minutes quicker than the first time he had attempted it. Gathering, and then flowing out the chakra was still a lengthy and precise process, though. "Wah! I feel great. This technique is really amazing," Naruto shouted in amazement. "Instead of standing there like a fool, I suggest you take a shower before eating lunch," growled the demon in response. Hey, cheer up, you always seem to be in a bad mood. Remaining sealed within your body for 12 years would make anybody bitter and cynical." "Whatever you say, sensei," replied the boy with a mental chuckle. Since he was no longer exhausted from his run, Naruto did not have to worry about collapsing while walking towards his house. Instead, he placed his hands behind his head, casually strolled back along the way. On his way, he passed a few genins. They all stared at his sweat-drenched clothes, wondering what he had been doing for him to be so drenched. Naruto simply grinned in his customary manner, if only they knew. After drying himself off from his shower, Naruto ransacked his house in search of something edible to eat, but he had finished the last of his food the very morning. It looked like another ramen meal at the stand, not that he was complaining of course, but his monthly allowance was running short. Oh well, another meal will not hurt him. Besides, the owner gives him a frequent customer discount anyway. On his way to the stand, he could have sworn he saw Sasuke and Sakura talking. Most likely she was trying to persuade him to go on a date with her. Like that was going to happen. The thought made Naruto chuckle a bit to himself. The little triangle that Team 7 had going on for a while always made him laugh. To think back now at how he acted, he could tell how far he had come since Kakashi made them genins. He was foolish enough to think his desire to go out with Sakura was as strong as his dream to become Hokage. What a fool I was. "You still are," snickered the demon at him. "Bah, who asked you?" demanded Naruto, slightly irked. Only another mental snicker answered his question. He was beginning to think that the Nine-Tails Fox was starting to act like him, heaven forbid. "Oi, Naruto," said the ramen stand owner as he placed a steaming hot bowl on the counter, "still training hard?" Haha, of course I am. I need to become stronger if I'm to become Hokage," replied the young ninja with his usual gusto. Midway through his meal, the demon unexpectedly spoke up. It appears as though you're being watched." "Huh? How do you know that?" Naruto demanded. "Concentrate on the different chakra sources in the immediate vicinity. Notice how all of them are moving, except one." "Oh yay, you're right." The blonde genin slowly turned around as if he were stretching and stole a quick glance in the direction of the motionless chakra. There was no mistaking the person. It was Inuzuka Kiba, the genin he had defeated in his preliminary match during the Chunin selection exam. It occurred to Naruto that today was not the only time he was being watched. Several other times in the past, he felt as if somebody was watching him. "What the hell does he want with me?" he wondered to himself. "Most likely a second chance to fight you again," replied the demon with indifference. "Hey, I'll just beat him again, like I did back then." Meanwhile, Kiba was silently observing Naruto from the shadows of an alley. For a moment, he thought he had been spotted, but the other genin was merely stretching himself. Akamaru softly barked at him. Somebody was coming. As Kiba turned around, he saw it was only Hyuga Hinata, his teammate. Kiba-kun, Kurenai-sensei sent me to tell you that we have another mission, said Hinata in her soft voice. I'll be there soon, Kiba replied without taking his eyes off of his target. Oh, you're watching Naruto-kun again, aren't you? The boy simply nodded. He silently grimaced at his teammate's sudden change in attitude. There was no mistaking the tenderness in her voice as she spoke the name. He had only recently discovered Hinata's feeling towards Naruto. It shocked him when he first found out, and he had felt a slight twinge of jealousy. As far as he knew, no girl had ever liked him. Hi, he answered, not even offering an explanation. He could feel her eyes on his back, and was glad when she finally left him. I'm going to figure out how you became so strong, Naruto, Kiba promised to himself. After his meal, Kyuubi ordered him to, once again, go outside of the village for some more training. It seemed the demon liked the surroundings of the forest. He hoped that this afternoon's training would not turn into another endurance exercise like in the morning. Before we begin, use your Kage Bunshin and create a clone, ordered the demon fox. Simple enough, Naruto had been using the jutsu for months now, it was like second nature to him. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he said as an exact copy of himself appeared next to him. You notice how close the clone is to yourself? Well, yay, isn't that normal? Of course it is, but tactically it doesn't present you with the full advantage of shadow clones. You're going to work on creating single clones as far away from yourself as possible. Alright. How do I do that? The only hint I'll give you is this. Right now, you're probably focusing your chakra around you. Focus your chakra away for you in a set direction, stated the demon. Easier said than done, of course. After an hour, the farthest he was able to create a clone was 5 meters, and even that required immense concentration on his part. He needed a break to rethink his approach. This training was almost as exhausting as when he was learning the Rasengan. As he pondered a few thoughts, he felt something on his forehead. It was a leaf. Memories of his training with Jiraiya-sama came back to him in a flash. He had focuses so much chakra into destroying a ball that it blew him backwards several meters. It was so difficult to capture his chakra into a sphere. Then it struck him. A sphere, of course. Focusing the chakra into an orb will make it not disperse as much, realized the young ninja. In theory it sounded great, but putting it to practice was another story. Okay, all I have to do is keep my chakra focused. With that last thought in mind, Naruto placed his hands in the seal. He could almost feel his chakra slipping around his constraints. Slowly he forced his energy farther away from him. At the 5-meter mark, he felt he could keep on going. 6, 7, 8, 9 meters before he felt the chakra start to slip around. 10, 11 meters and he was forced to create the clone. A whole 6-meter improvement. Naruto plopped down onto the ground, sighing with contentment. Very good. You've managed to impress me once again. I never thought you would understand the concept so quickly. At the rare compliment the boy projected a mental grin. With daily practice you will be able to create clones far away from you just as easily as right next to you. Now, there's still a few hours before sunset, so keep practicing. Hi, replied Naruto. A new purpose this time. Kyuubi increased his warm-up to 14 laps around the Konoha village and 140 push-ups and sit-ups. Although it was only the third day, Naruto was getting used to constant exertion over long periods of time. This time, he did not even stumble on anything. On top of everything, his legs didn't feel as if they would simply fall from underneath him. Completing the healing technique required even less time than before. Although, he remembered what Kyuubi told him when he first learned it, at your level, it should take around 20 minutes. Eventually that time will be reduced, but it should never take less than 10 minutes, otherwise it will not be complete. Not a chance of that ever happening though. It felt good flowing the chakra through his body. It sort of felt like a gentle rain, washing away the pain. It appears as though we have a visitor, projected the demon, interrupting Naruto's reverie in the process. The boy extended his senses, and sure enough, someone was in the immediate area, obviously wishing to stay hidden. It was fairly obvious who it was, even though he was not visible yet. What are you doing here, Kiba? And don't tell me you were walking Akamaru, Naruto said in a loud voice. Damn it. How'd he find me? Thought Kiba with a gasp. Walking out into the opening, he could not help but wonder just how strong the other genin had become. Did he know all along? Or was he just toying with him? He was going to find that out right here and now. He could feel Kiba approach from behind him. He still did not get up or face him. It was best to remain sitting, to give the impression he knew no fear. Only when he was sure the walking had ceased did he get up on his feet and turn around with a giant grin on his face. "So, did you come back for another ass-kicking?" asked Naruto in a loud and boisterous tone. "That wasn't exactly the way I would have started things," interjected the demon. "Very funny, Naruto. How long have you known that I've been watching?" Kiba responded. "Oh, since after the Chunin exam, I think." Internally Kiba's mind was boggling. So he knew for a month that he was being spied upon and he did not do anything about it. Outwardly, though, he kept his cool. "So then you know why I watch you." "Actually, I have no idea." Another grin. "Quit playing the fool. There's no way you could have gotten strong enough to beat me, and especially that Neji kid without something special." "I want to know what," growled the young Inuzuka. "Hee. I'll tell you what it was. Hard work and dedication. 2 things every normal shinobi should have." "But then again, you don't look like a normal shinobi," replied Naruto with a smirk. "Now, I gotta train some more." With that said, the blonde nin left Kiba standing there with an expression of anger and shock. The insult was as veiled as it was blatant. Either way, Naruto was going to pay for it. "If you were trying to make an enemy, that was very well done," said the demon sarcastically. His fault for spying on me." Excluding the confrontation with the other genin, Naruto's life was settling into a regular schedule. Not that it was a bad thing to him. It did not really matter. Soon Kakashi-sensei would present them with a C-rank mission. Finally, he half-hoped that it would turn out into a B rank just like the Wave Country mission, although that was almost disastrous. Turning onto his street, Naruto paused in surprise. Standing near his house were Kiba, Shino, Choji, and Ino. The latter two were walking towards him as if leaving the other two, but once they spotted him they quickly glanced at Kiba. Something was going on. Shino seemed to be talking to Kiba, but he did not look as if he were paying much attention. "What's going on here?" wondered Naruto as he walked towards his house. "It appears to be a fight," announced the demon. "Wah, there's nobody fighting though." "You will see, I am right. Crazy fox," he muttered under his breath. Still in his thoughts, Naruto stopped, surprised at Kiba who was yelling at him. "There you are. Don't expect to insult me and get away with it. You're going to pay." "Huh? What are you talking about, Baka? I'm not gonna fight you. After humiliating me, not once, but twice, I'm not going to let you go without teaching you a lesson." Quit babbling, you're just wasting your time," Naruto said as he walked past Kiba. With his back to his enemy, Naruto realized he might be in a little trouble. Fortunately, Kiba was too blinded by his anger to capitalize on such an advantage. It did not matter though. "Don't run away from me. I'm not going to lose to a dead last," yelled out the angry genin in frustration. That last sentence stopped Naruto in his tracks. There was something about that name that just struck a nerve inside of him. His breathing shortened as it quickened. He could feel the adrenaline pouring into his body. It was no use fighting, but he did not want to lose it, not here. "It's no use fighting it. Let it flow through you, but don't let it take over," said the demon. He did not want to give in to his anger, but it felt so good. The power that always came with such heightened emotion was immense, almost as if he was made of purge energy. In these few moments he felt more alive than he ever had his whole life. The insult definitely had a visible effect on Naruto since he stopped walking. Kiba could not tell what was going on. From the looks of it, he was just standing there, at least for now. It was as if time had frozen. Nobody was moving, they were all watching Naruto. The blonde genin's breathing was gradually quickening as well as more strained. Now he was starting to shake. At first it was slightly, but it was becoming more and more exaggerated. "What is going?" thought Kiba. "I'm going to put an end to this." Before he could start, Naruto's body erupted with chakra into a dark red aura. "That's the same chakra feeling as during the Chunin exam," gasped Ino in shock. Kiba, who had been unconscious when Naruto finished his fight, was still completely unaware of what had happened. The only thoughts in his mind were that he had most likely made a huge mistake, and that he should run away. It was too late though. As Naruto turned around, his face looked strangely inhuman. It was the eyes. His pupils were so small, they were more like slits. Suddenly he spoke up, "Don't ever call me dead last." Although he said it quietly, there was no mistaking the menace in his voice. Did he copy my jutsu? Wondered Kiba. To him, Naruto looked strangely like an animal, not quite to the point of his own beast effect jutsu. As he placed his hands in a seal, Naruto started speeding towards him. Before he could activate his jutsu in time, it was all over. He was doubled over Naruto's fist that was still pressing his stomach. The taste of blood was creeping into his mouth as he tried to breathe. The pain was intense. Naruto moved his fist away from the other genin. He was not through with him yet. A quick kick to the stomach sent his opponent flying for several meters. This power within him was still too raw, he needed to control it. Amazingly, Kiba was still able to stand up after those 2 hits, though shakily. It's time to end it, decided Naruto. He did not think he would be able to keep control over his emotions for very long. The temptation to completely give in was stronger than ever. Yesterday's practice had served him well. He was so familiar with Kage Bunshin no Jutsu that he hardly needed to concentrate. In a poof of smoke, 2 clones appeared on either side of Kiba and grabbed him in vice-like grips. Extending his hand, he started to gather his chakra inside the palm. At first it was a whirlwind of motion, but within a few seconds it was all focused into a glowing sphere of pure energy. There was no hope of escape for Kiba. Even if he were not being held by 2 shadow clones, he was too injured to dodge. Closing in fast, a wicked grin spread on Naruto's face in anticipation of crushing his opponent. But as he was mere inches away from Kiba, he caught a blur of movement on the outside of his field of vision. It was too late to react. He had already taken a kick to the ribs and was sent crashing into a tree with the Rasengan ripping the entire roots from the ground. After getting up and dusting himself off, Naruto turned around to face his new attacker. It was Sasuke. "Oi, Baka. What were you trying to do? Kill him," shouted Sasuke at him. "No, but he started it," responded the blonde genin, anger clearly gone. "Peef, whatever. Kakashi-sensei sent me to tell you that our mission will be ready in 4 days. Yay, yay. Whatever, I don't need you to look out after me." Although he did not see it, Choji and Ino were breathing huge sighs of relief. They had never seen Naruto so angry before. He definitely looked like he was going to kill Kiba, and that technique. That was not the kind of skill a genin could learn. "Well, now that all the excitement is over, we can get back to training. Southeast of the village is a mountainous area. Go there once you are done cleaning yourself," ordered Kyubi. After a shower and some lunch, Naruto headed southeast, and after about 45 minutes of traveling, he arrived at the mountain ranges. "Great, now what do I do?" inquired the boy. "Now, you climb the cliffs." "What? Without using your legs either, otherwise you won't be able to develop strength in your fingers, which is the whole purpose of this training." Grumbling still a bit more, the boy finally complied. How hard could it be after all? All he had to do was climb the rocks. As long as he paid attention to where he put his hands, he would do just fine. After all, it was just climbing rocks, without using his legs. It was doable. "Man, this is gonna beep," grumbled Naruto to himself, and rightly so. After only an hour he was barely a fourth up on the smallest of rock formations. His fingers were trembling from the exertion and his upper body muscles were burning. If only he could use his chakra, it would make things so much easier. "I already said, no chakra," interjected the Nine Tails. "Using some would defeat the entire purpose of this training. The taijutsu I will teach you is extremely advanced, and requires great muscle control in your body extremities. This taijutsu alone should put you on the same level as those arrogant Hyugas, let alone the jutsus you'll learn." "Why, yeah," stammered Naruto, clearly too tired to hold a conversation. He was wondering how in the world to climb to the top of the rock he was hanging off of. "There is much hate and resentment in you. I can feel it. Instead of bottling it up and wasting it, grasp it. The villagers hate you for what you have sealed up inside of you, me. The children disregard you because of your once poor grades. God damn it, why do you keep bringing that up? Because you try to forget it all, instead of looking at reality. Don't fool yourself into thinking it's something different. Your sole reason of existence is to bear the hate of the village, but from now on it's different. From now on, your purpose is to prove to everyone who you are and what you are capable of." Fueled by the demon's speech, Naruto found strength in his anger towards the village. Inch by inch he forced his hands to move to higher handholds. Though despite the odd inspiration, the feelings within him raged against each other. Was the demon right? After all, there was still Iruka-sensei who bought him ramen every now and then. Still, Kyubi had killed his parents. His acts of kindness could merely be attempts to satisfy his guilt. Naruto sighed at this thought. Life was exceedingly cruel sometimes. The mission every day, it seemed his warm-up became harder and harder. Instead of regular push-ups, the demon ordered him to support himself by his fingers. Aside from this slight change, Naruto's daily schedule remained the same throughout the week except for after his usual warm-up he continued training his Kagebunshin no Jutsu. By the end of the week, he could climb most of the rocks without tiring the slightest. It was about time too. Today was when they would finally learn about the C-rank mission Kakashi-sensei had told them about. Standing at their usual meeting place, Naruto frowned to himself. Nobody was there yet besides him. Even he was a few minutes late. This is just ridiculous, he grumbled. If he knew any better he would say Sakura was with Sasuke as she usually tried to sneak in free moments with him. It made him wonder, if they were together so often, why did they simply not become a couple? Sasuke. After the mission, do you want to go out to eat? Naruto did not even have to turn around to know who was coming up behind him. No, answered another voice with indifference. I guess that answers my question, chuckled the blonde genin to himself. Although usually he would have offered a loud greeting, this time he preferred not to. There was no point. You're late, he said simply. Huh? What's with Naruto? Wondered Sakura. Aloud she exclaimed, Naruto. Where have you been this past week? I was looking all over for you. Yay, right. You were with Sasuke the whole time. Before she could reply he continued. Save it. Kakashi-sensei is here. Sure enough, out of a whirl of smoke, the gray-haired Junin appeared with an apologetic grin on his face. Ohio. Sorry I'm late. I forgot my book at home, he offered to his students. Meanwhile, Sasuke was staring at Naruto with a little curiosity. How did he know Kakashi-sensei was coming? He wondered. Well, we might as well get started now, we have a ways to go. Oi, Kakashi-sensei, where are we going though? Asked Naruto. Oh, we're going to the Lightning Country, to the Hidden Cloud Village. Tsunade-sama wants us to retrieve a scroll from their village. You mean we're going to steal it? Of course not, now let's get going, I'll explain it on the way. Once they packed all the gear they would need for their mission, they finally set off towards the Lightning Country. On the way Kakashi finally settled his students' curiosity. Apparently, during the Hidden Cloud War, the third Hokage offered an ancient scroll as part of the treaty agreement. That was roughly 10 years ago. Their current leader had recently passed away and their village council decided that the scroll was no longer needed in the village. Therefore, as an act of goodwill they were allowing a team from the Leaf to take it back. What Kakashi failed to mention was the rebellious faction which split from the village. The rebel clouds felt that the leader chosen was not the best choice, so approximately half of the ninjas left and ultimately became missing nins. Kakashi was more than certain they were going to be ambushed on the way back, but there was no avoiding it. He figured a regular four-man team had a better chance of slipping away than a larger escort, and besides, a larger escort would definitely attract more attention. With his current team, they would be underestimated. Perhaps they would send 2 Junins to take care of himself, but most likely only Genins for his students. If they were desperate they would send some Shunins, but with the rebels in their current status, they were hard-pressed for experienced ninjas. Still, sending Genins against his students would most likely be their mistake. Naruto's growth, especially, was almost frightening. From the scared boy who froze in the face of his first real threat to his life, to the aftermath of the Chunin selection exam. He's probably the strongest genin the Leaf has seen in a while, he thought to himself. Sasuke himself was not too far behind his teammate. His mastery of the Sharingan was improving daily but not nearly as fast as Naruto was improving. Sakura was coming along quite well too, she would soon be ready for him to teach her some new jutsus. He could sense an affinity for earth-type skills within her. The team was making excellent progress on their journey, but the Hidden Cloud Village was a lot farther than the Wave Country. The distance between their starting point and their destination was basically a 2.5-day journey. So for 2 nights they were forced to camp somewhere along the road. It really was not that bad, it still had not rained yet. At any rate, on the 3rd day, They finally arrived at the gates of their destination. Hey, Kakashi-sensei, why do they call this, Lightning Country? Naruto asked enthusiastically. Oh, well. It has something to do with somebody who did something way back and they named the country after him, replied the Junin distractedly. Huh? How much more vague can you get? Meanwhile, Kakashi was busily trying to find the 3 visas that would allow them to enter the village. After nearly emptying his pockets, he finally fished out the 3 documents and the gate guards ushered them through. Well, you guys go look around while I take care of the business. Turning around he added, by the way, try not to stand out. We may be at peace with them but that doesn't mean that they like us. With that said he continued towards the main administration building. The 3 genins took the opportunity to explore the strange village. Surprisingly, it was quite similar to their own. Wow, there's a ramen stand. I'll see you guys later, shouted Naruto over his shoulder as he ran towards the stand. What a moron, always interested in food, muttered Sasuke. Exploring the village was not as exciting as they had hoped it would be. It really was just like the Leaf Village, except there did seem to be as many inhabitants. Walking around proved to be quite boring and they almost wished Naruto was around to liven things up. In the meantime, Naruto finished his meal and began to wander around. This place isn't very exciting, he thought to himself. It seemed to him that for the size of the village either there were not many inhabitants, or they all preferred remaining indoors, even during good weather. Whatever the reason, he had no time to find out. Ahead of him he found his team, obviously waiting for him. Ah, there you are Naruto, said Kakashi, it's about time we left this place. Huh? What kind of a C-rank mission is this? We haven't done anything, whined the blonde-haired genin. You should be happy this is so easy. C ranks pay much better than D ranks. Now let's get going. Trudging along in silence, Naruto was deep in thought. Kakashi had given him the scroll to carry. Finally he spoke up, Oi, Kakashi-sensei. What's so important about this scroll? Oh, well. It contains great secrets. His response only earned him a skeptical look from his student. Hey, even I don't know some things. The journey home promised to be as eventless as their first one. The first day came and went without incidents, although Naruto did stub his toe on a rock. The second day appeared to be just as boring as the previous days. Even Kyuubi seemed bored. It appears somebody is using some form of high-level genjutsu around us, stated the demon in his normal tone. How do you know? I can't sense anything, Naruto asked incredulously. Unless you know what to look for, it is completely undetectable to passive attempts. So what do I look for? Mostly redundancies in the scenery. The genjutsu works by making your body look like a part of the terrain. That, and there's chakra residue that can be detected, but I don't think you're that advanced yet. Oi, then how did you find them? Like I said, I know what to look for. Naruto pondered the demon's last thought for a moment. There was not much to do considering the circumstances. There could be only one possible explanation as to why several individuals were using high-level genjutsu. Obviously they were after the scroll. The team had nothing else that could be considered of worth. Considering the level, there was no doubt that the concealed ninjas were at least chunins, most likely 1 or 2 junins. Still, the genjutsu brought him some comfort. Thinking back to the selection exam, he remembered the tactic the hidden mist ninjas used. Most likely his hidden opponents would be weak in close-quarter combat. All his team had to do was get them into the open. You guys can come out now, I've already detected your presences, shouted Naruto. What? Naruto, stop trying to be cool, but Sakura was interrupted by a voice coming from the trees. To think that a genin would be able to detect our genjutsu, most impressive. At that moment, 8 masked ninjas bearing a hidden cloud forehead protector appeared strewn across the tree's branches. Still, if I were you I would hand over the scroll. Naruto paused for a minute. The leader said that while looking straight at him, he knew he had the scroll. This definitely was not a good situation for him. Kakashi-sensei, who are these guys and why do they have hidden cloud forehead protectors? Asked Sasuke calmly. Well, they are part of a rebel group of hidden clouds who are trying to depose the current leader. Oi, shouted one of the cloud ninjas to his leader. That's no ordinary Junin down there, that's Cop Ninja Kakashi. We weren't told we'd face the likes of him. Just shoot up and do as you're told, growled the leader in return. Dissent within the group, an obvious advantage to exploit, though way too obvious. That exchange was most definitely staged, rumbled the demon. What makes you so sure? Demanded Naruto. Common psychological warfare. Make your enemy believe you are weaker and then have somebody just as powerful or more powerful attack. In this case, there will only be one Junin to attack you. Huh, can't Kakashi-sensei stop them? Your sensei would be too busy fighting two people at the same time, leaving you and your other teammates to fight a group of 6 with a Junin hidden within. Outnumbered 2 to 1, with a Junin added into the mix, just the way I like it. Quite so, although if you ask me this group is not particularly bright. First they fail their jutsu, now the obvious staging. My guess is, the hidden Junin is the fellow who called your sensei by his nickname. Hey, Naruto shouted to the other ninjas in defiance, if you want your precious scroll, then come and get it. His seemingly brave front only earned him a groan from his sensei and a mumbled insult from Sasuke. Sakura, on the other hand, looked about ready to kill him. You've got guts, kid, I like that. It's too bad I have to kill you for it, replied the leader with a smirk. Bring it on, the blonde genin replied with a smirk of his own. Naruto had obviously committed a few errors in the past, but none were as gaping as taunting a group of 3 Junins and 5 Chunins. The Cloud Ninjas needed no further urging to jump down from their perches and encircle Team 7. Thankfully, the ninja in front of Naruto did not appear to be one of the Junins. Alright then, I'll make an example of this one, he chuckled to himself, thinking back to his brush with Inazaka Kiba. Concentrating his chakra to his feet, Naruto leapt forward and planted his fist square in his opponent's solar plexus. With a follow-up kick he sent the Cloud Ninja sprawling back several feet. A quick hand seal and 2 shadow clones appeared on either side and grabbed a secure hold of his arms. Flowing chakra to his hand, Naruto created a whirlwind of energy in his palm. A little longer and it all focused into a sphere. Letting loose a battle cry, he rushed his opponent and unleashed the full power of his Rasengan. There was nothing to stop the ninja from flying head first into a tree, clearly dead even before impact. He did not even have the chance to react to Naruto's attack. The young genin looked down at his hands, it was his first real kill. So this is what it feels like, he reflected, such power, the ability to take another man's life with my own hands. I feel alive. Rounding on the rest of the rogue ninjas with a fire burning in his eyes, Naruto only uttered 3 words, don't underestimate me. Control. It was not an emotion he was used to experience. Whenever it happened he never knew what it was at first. During calmer periods, he reflected over his feelings and he would realize, it was jealousy. Such a strange concept for him to grasp, being envious of someone else. It was unthinkable. He was the top of his class, heir to the Uchiha clan, a Sharingan user, and he was heralded as a genius. So why did he desire the power of his teammate? The bottom of his class, loud, obnoxious, and stubborn to boot, all perfectly described Uzumaki Naruto. Jealousy was not a part of him. The only time he could remember being jealous was when Itachi came home one evening from his training and showed him his eyes. They contained 3 Sharingan wheels, proof of mastery. Even though he was barely out of the toddler stage, he was jealous of his brother. The Sharingan ability was difficult to use at its full power, to master it so young was nothing short of a miracle. Now, he was feeling that same emotion towards that fool. In mere seconds he had killed at least a Chunin-level ninja, not one to take lightly. If not for his ability, he would not have been able to follow. Naruto had used the same technique as against Kiba. The Rasengan was what Kakashi-sensei called it. At the time, he had not thought much about it, his own Chidori was more impressive anyway. Such underestimation was not typical of him, even with his skill, only a well-placed hit would result in instant death. It seemed that Naruto had not even paid attention to where he struck his opponent, such power. One time, when teasing his teammate, he told him to get stronger so he could beat him. He really did not expect for it to actually happen. Naruto, how could this happen? What happened with you? Boggled Sasuke in his mind. He hazarded a glance at Sakura. Her mouth was gaping in absolute shock and her kunai was slowly slipping out of her grasp, just as he expected. Even Sakura snidely considered herself more skilled than their teammate due to her outstanding grades in the academy. At the moment, Though, there was no more time for shock, one of the Cloud Ninjas had punched Naruto hard in the face. What ensued could only be described as frightening. Hehehehehehe, how pathetic. Was that all you got? Cackled Naruto in a strange voice. Why, you insolent brat, I'll make you taste pain like you've never experienced. The Cloud Ninja bellowed. Straightening himself out and facing the ninja in front of him, Naruto put a smirk on his face. Not like that, you won't, he stated. Why, you? Yelled the ninja as he started to swing his fist again. Nothing happened though. The fist was firmly nested into Naruto's left palm and was obviously not going anywhere. Gotcha, grinned the blonde genin. Lightly placing his foot backwards, Naruto brought it up in a swift circular motion, connecting with the Cloud Ninja's jaw, sending him staggering back a few steps. What is he doing? Wondered Kakashi, staring at his student with his one-eyed Sharingan. He did not have to worry about the two Junins in front of him because they were watching the boy as well. Even though he was able to sometimes predict the movements of other people, Naruto was entirely too spontaneous. It frustrated him sometimes, but now was no time or place to lecture himself for not taking care enough of the boy. After kicking his opponent, he leapt into the air. What was he doing? His body twisted not quite a half circle. It was as if time had stopped and Naruto was frozen in midair. Was it really that, or merely an optical illusion? Either way, the boy lashed out with foot, striking the neck of the Cloud Ninja, who crumpled at the contact. All of Team 7 gasped at once. That was no ordinary Mikazuki Jerry, Kakashi realized. That had a Hyuga feel to it, but there was something else. He had heard, from those who watched the Hyuga Neji match, that Neji used some spinning kicks while in air. Also from his own eyes from observing Hyuga Hazashi and Hiashi train sometimes, there was definitely a similar feel. Kakashi had a feeling he would be seeing more of this type of technique in the future. Oi Sasuke, shouted Naruto, shooting a glance at his teammate, better hurry up, it's already 2-0 for me. HMPH, show off, muttered Sasuke. He's something, that kid, said one of the Junins in front of Kakashi, for him to take out two of us that quickly. Hey, you won't get the scroll from us, replied Kakashi with confidence. Naruto isn't the only one who's strong. That black-haired kid is an Uchiha, your friends won't stand a chance against them. That would be true, replied the other Cloud Ninja, if we were the only Junins. What? Gasped Kakashi. That's right, one of our elite hunter nin is somewhere in that group. Looks like the tables have turned, smirked the other ninja. If you go to help your students, we'll kill you. If you do nothing, your students will die. Quite the predicament you're in. Meanwhile, with his Sharingan activated, Sasuke had less trouble dealing with his opponents. One of them was a ninjutsu specialist and continually attacked him from a distance using some strange lightning-based jutsu. Even with the Sharingan, it was all he could do to avoid getting caught. A few more times of observing the technique and he saw an opening through the attacks. His Shishi Renden was all he needed to knock out the Cloud Chunin. So weak, he muttered at his unconscious opponent. Damn it, I can't find the hidden Junin, complained Naruto. I'll admit, he's concealing his identity well, the demon conceded. At this point you have two options. Kill everybody, till we find him. Or bait him into the open. I got an idea. Picking the scroll from his pouch he tossed it at his teammate, Oi, Sakura. Catch. Barely reacting in time, the scroll unceremoniously tumbled into Sakura's arms. Naruto, what are you doing, Baka? Yelled out Sasuke, who received a punch to the gut for his slight inattention. Naruto, why the hell are you giving the scroll to me? Demanded the pink-haired girl. Can't explain now, Sakura-chan. Yelled out Naruto. Now we wait. Sure enough, the Chunin that was fighting Naruto disengaged and sped towards Sakura. If that's the sleeper, she won't stand a chance, he thought. There were only two left, besides the two that Kakashi was fighting. The Cloud Ninja dodged a swipe from Sakura's kunai and snuck his arm through her guard. Instead of hitting her, he used her momentum to spin her around and pinched some vital areas around her neck, effectively knocking her out. As expected, he looted the scroll. So, you finally uncovered yourself, Naruto called out. Hey, with the scroll in my hands, our mission is now over, replied the sleeper. I wouldn't be too sure of that, might want to check your scroll. Reaching into his pouch, Naruto pulled out another scroll which looked exactly like the one held by the Junin. What? Oh, I see. You sneaky bastard. I guess I got carried away. He. I was bored last night so I made an exact copy of the scroll I was carrying. Impressive. To think that I, an elite hunter nin, would be tricked by a genin. I guess there's only one thing left for me to do, the Cloud Ninja said, and then disappeared. Give me that, heard Naruto from behind him. It was too late though. The other ninja already snatched the scroll from his hands and promptly smashed his elbow into the back of Naruto's head. Fortunately his incredible resilience helped him not to black out. Rubbing the back of his head scanned for the Junin but could not find him. No doubt he was using another genjutsu. Damn it, this is bad. Sasuke was still fighting one of them, Sakura was knocked out, and Kakashi was still fighting too, although he managed to defeat one of his opponents. Still, the whole purpose of the mission was to safely see the scroll back to Tsunade-sama, but that was not going to happen without the scroll. He was not going to find the sleeper, not with that genjutsu, and another trap would not work either. What am I going to do? Kakashi-sensei is going to kill me. He whined to himself. There might be a way, interjected the demon. What? How? You still have a blank scroll with an ink and stylus, right? Yay, of course. Always got him around. Good. There's no time to lose. I will dictate to you a summoning contract between foxes. Huh, how do you know the contract for foxes? Because I'm the spirit of a demon fox. You amaze me sometimes. Hi. All right. What's the contract? Word by word, the demon dictated the contract to Naruto. Contracts were complex to create as precise words were needed for the specific animal. Thankfully the demon was already familiar with such minutiae. When he was done, Naruto signed the scroll with his blood, and pressed his bloodied fingers onto it for his fingerprints. Great, I'm done. Now what? Excellent, now this is the skill your sensei once used. Doden Suiga no Jutsu, except you'll use foxes instead of dogs. Don't dogs have better noses? A common misconception, but there's no time. You already know how to summon, but the chakra distribution is different because you have to summon several at once, and underground at that. Alright, how do I do it then? Naruto asked excitedly. I don't have time to teach you, you'll have to let me control the chakra myself. What? I can't let you do that. If the host is willing, then it is possible. But it's my body, I can't just let you control part of it, even for just a little. Boy, there's no time for this, now give me control. No way. Sensei or no, this is my body. You just lost the scroll you were supposed to protect, they're all going to blame you for its loss, taunted Kyuubi, trying to change tactics. I can deal with that, shrugged Naruto. Do you want to look weak in front of the others? Do you want the Uchiha kid to surpass you again? Do you want Sakura to call you worthless? What? No, but, there are no buts, snarled the demon, you have to act now, be a hero or remain the loser like they all see you as. Fine then, as long as it's just this once. Excellent, now perform the seal. Once I form the chakra for you, you'll remember it as if you did it. Biting his thumb, he spread the blood in a line on his palm and then performed the seals. Boar, dog, bird, monkey, and sheep. Slamming his palm down on the ground, he could feel the demon flowing the chakra for him. It was a strange sensation. It felt like it was him, but he knew he was not the one doing it. As the jutsu progressed, he could see how complex it was and how much chakra it demanded. Suddenly he realized, how were the nin foxes going to track down this guy anyway? Don't worry about that, said the demon. The scroll is old and releases a particular smell. The foxes won't miss it. With the jutsu complete, there was not much to do besides sit and wait. Both Kakashi and Sasuke had knocked out the remaining cloud nins. Sakura was stirring awake too. It looked like it was all over, except for the Junin who still had the scroll. Walking toward his student, Kakashi saw Naruto with an open scroll at his feet. Could that be? Taking a closer look, his suspicions were revealed. It was a summoning contract. Oi, Naruto, started the gray-haired sensei, what kind of a scroll is that? Oh, this thing? Putting his hand behind his head, Naruto gave a nervous laugh. It's a contract scroll between the foxes, ha ha ha. Oh, you can summon? Since when? Since Jiraiya-sama taught me before that exam. But Kakashi knew that Naruto used Jiraiya's contract scroll between the toads when he taught him that technique. Developing contract scrolls were extremely complex, and for a genin to write one on the spot was unheard of. How had Naruto gotten so strong and knowledgeable so quickly? Just being apprenticed to Jiraiya for a short amount of time was not enough for such growth. So where's the fox you summoned? Kakashi prodded further. Well, I summoned several of them. Oh, and where are they? Clearly embarrassed, Naruto fidgeted a little before answering. They're tracking the guy that stole the scroll from me underground. Underground? You mean you used Doden Suiga no Jutsu? Kakashi asked incredulously. Yay, he, replied his student with a grin. Suddenly, a shrill scream of pain ripped through the forest. Looks like you caught something, he said with a wink. With Kakashi in the lead, it was not long before the team of 4 fell upon the victim of the ruthless tracking skill. Several impressive-sized nin foxes with leaf forehead protectors biting down hard on the Cloud Ninja. Obviously he had never experienced such a skill before. The look of pure terror was clear on his face. Oh, Kakashi-sensei, did you summon these creatures? Asked Sasuke. Haha, nope. It was Naruto here who did that, he said, clapping his student on the back. Grabbing the scroll from the restrained Cloud Nin, Kakashi said, I don't even need to ask what your purpose was, or for who you worked for. Your entire team has been decimated. After we leave, the jutsu will be released, and I suggest you gather up those who are still alive and go back to your rebel group. Turning to his team he said, well, now that this is over with, how about we head home? Flashing his trademark grin, Naruto replied, sounds good to me. New jutsu getting out of bed always was a grueling affair with nobody around to force him. Sometimes, after turning off his alarm clock, he would just relax his head back onto the pillow and stare out the window next to his bed. There was something about a cloudless sky that captivated him. The sheer vastness of it was enough to humble any man. It was one of those days where he did not want to wake up. After silencing the awful ringing of his clock, he collapsed back onto his bed and pulled up the covers. Except, today was different. He had somebody there to force him out. It's high time we started training again, grumbled the demon. I wouldn't be surprised if that annoying girl surpassed you this time. As if to accentuate the veiled insult, Kyuubi projected a humorous image of Naruto lying unconscious at Sakura's feet. Sliding his feet from under the covers, Naruto ignored the jest. Man, it's all work and no play around you, isn't it? You had that run-in with those shinobis 2 days ago. I hardly call being ambushed by a group of elite cloud shinobis fun, retorted Naruto, stifling a yawn. But you enjoyed it nonetheless, admit it. The demon had a point there. Fighting those cloud nins had given him a rush, and not just from the adrenaline. It was completely different from his normal mind frame, like a state of heightened awareness. Nothing mattered anymore except for him and his enemy. Yay, he admitted grudgingly. On a more serious note, you better hurry up and warm up or you really will become inferior to Sasuke. Not likely with Sakura always hanging around him. I heard he actually changed his mind and is going to eat lunch with her. So he finally broke down, smirked Kyuubi, not surprising, with a persistent girl such as herself. I'll wager even that Morino Ibiki fellow would break under such torture. Is that a sense of humor you got there? You better watch out, you're starting to act like me. Heaven forbid. Running 20 laps around the village on his fingers proved a more difficult task than before the mission. Naruto tried explaining to the demon that it was not his fault the mission interrupted his training, but he would not have any of it. As a result, Naruto was sweating more than he was used to. Surprisingly, his fingers were holding up quite well, thanks to a special exercise Kyuubi taught him during the mission. To him, the training was all very well, but something nagged at the back of his mind. It had been there since the 9 tails actually surfaced into his consciousness. There was no use denying it. Today he would confront him about it. Remind me again what's so important about the fingers? Naruto asked curiously. A mental sigh. Remember what that eccentric sensei said about his and the Hyuga taijutsu style? Yay, of course. Tekken Fu and Jiyuken Fu. So what's the relationship? This is a combination of both. A combination of Lee Kun and the Hyuga taijutsu? How exciting. To think he would finally be able to match those two move for move instead of relying on his Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The possibilities were endless. Sasuke would finally acknowledge him and maybe Hinata-chan would smile at him again in that weird way. Where had that come from? He had not seen her in a long while. Why was he thinking about her right now? Are you listening to me, boy? Without waiting for an answer, the demon continued. No, of course not. I know exactly what you were thinking. Hee, whoops, Naruto said, blushing both physically and mentally. As I was saying, open fist combat styles are more effective than closed fist style. Why is that? 2 reasons. 1. Open fists offer the same advantage as closed fists, and 2. It is also more graceful. So you're going for style over effectiveness, snickered Naruto at the thought. Remember this, boy, it is easier to kill a man with 2 open fingers than with 5 closed ones. What? How does that work? Maybe if you crushed the windpipe. Using 2 fingers, you apply the same force over a much smaller area of contact, whereas with a fist, the force is more dispersed, thus losing its full effect. I guess that makes sense. Of course it does. Now that you're done, you better do that healing technique. We're going to practice area number 44 afterwards. Naruto audibly gulped at the last thought. Practice area 44 was where the second stage of the Chunin selection exam took place. It was much more commonly known as the Forest of Death. On top of that, he still had some bad memories about what took place there. Swallowed whole by a giant snake, that 5-part seal, and seeing Ino and Sakura as friends again were not events he wanted to see again anytime soon. Standing in front of the massive fence, Naruto was harboring second thoughts about training. The perpetually dark forest appeared even more foreboding than it had a month ago, or was it just his imagination? So, how do we get in there? Naruto thought nervously. All the gates surrounding the massive practice area were locked. Just when I think I have you figured out, you surprise me even more, sighed the demon. Try climbing it. So with a deep breath, the orange-clad genin gritted his teeth and started to climb the wire fence. It really was not as bad as he thought it would be, although the metal wire cut a little into his fingers, and there were no real footholds. That was all right though, his arms had seen worse in his previous training. Once on the other side, Naruto could not help but wonder what the point of coming to his area in particular for. How long are we going to stay in here anyway? He inquired. About a week, I'd wager. Man, that's so long. But what about Kakashi-sensei and everybody else? What if there's a mission? I'm sure they'll survive without you just fine. Well, whatever you say. Walking deeper into the darkness, Kyuubi explained a little more about the nature of his training. It's the second phase of developing your stamina and strength, he stated. Basically, this is going to be on a completely different level. Great, thought Naruto to himself, it's like he really wants to kill me. Here is a good place to stop, by the way I heard that. In front of the blonde-haired boy stood a massive tree dominating the entire clearing of the forest. Its diameter was at least several times his own size. There were no branches except near the top, and those were extremely thick as well. The clearing itself was not much to talk about either. Several bushes grew across the ground in a strange shape. Now, climb that tree, ordered the demon. Sliding his hand across the weather-smooth bark, Naruto realized it would be impossible to maintain a grip on it. How do you expect me to do that without handholds? He asked. Well, there are 2 ways you can climb a tree. Either make do with what you have, or you can make your own handholds, was the reply with what Naruto could have sworn was a mental wink. Make your own handholds, he muttered to himself. Running his hand over the trunk once again, he wondered how that was possible. Probing for weak points was useless, it was still a healthy tree. Maybe if I used a kunai. He thought about that for a second, then rejected the idea. That most likely was not the point of the exercise. Developing finger strength seemed to be important in this training. Surely Kyuubi was not serious. Realizing the inevitable, Naruto drew a large breath and exhaled slowly. Pulling his arm back, he closed his eyes and clamped his mouth shut in preparation of what was about to happen. With his hand in the shape of a claw, he stabbed his arm as fast as he could into the tree, just like he saw his sensei, Kakashi, do it when using the Chidori. Pain shot through his fingertips as his hand almost collapsed from the pressure. Determined not to shout out, Naruto grimaced and let the pain wash over him. Opening his eyes, he found his fingers slightly buried in the wood, though not enough for an adequate hold. And I have to do this until the top? This is gonna beep. How else do you expect to become strong? Smirked the demon. HMPH, You aren't the one breaking your hand. Using his other hand, the genin rammed it into the same spot, this time creating a large enough hole. Hoisting himself up a little, he quickly realized that the awkward position he was in would drastically lower the amount of strength he could put into each hit. "Ah, you bastard," Naruto projected, "you knew this would happen. You set it up specifically so I would fall. What better way to build up your pain threshold than this? Sadist." The fox was right though, he would emerge much stronger if he could survive. Falling down from that high could be fatal. Over the next few hours, and several bruises later, Naruto struggled to climb higher on the tree, but it was proving much more difficult, just like he anticipated. More than a few times he lost his grip and fell with a thud to the ground. Unlike his training for the Rasengan, this kind of training had nothing to do with chakra. His fingers were riddled with small splinters and the skin was raw. Still he pressed on. It was soon starting to get dark. Taking a break, he leaned against the tree and gazed up towards the sky. He could see all the marks he made on the trunk going up 3/4 of the way until the first branch. Near the end, he started to get the hang of it. It was not so bad: stab, hoist, and repeat. Still, he had taken a large amount of falls, each one higher than the other. Suddenly, a growl from his stomach reminded him he had not eaten anything since noon, or 6 hours ago. "Man, my stomach's killing me, I need to eat," Naruto grumbled. "Well, isn't there a river in this area?" replied the demon. "Yay, it's off to the east. Your fishing abilities should be sufficient to catch a few fish, I think." With a shrug, Naruto set off towards the same river where him and his team rested at during the selection exam. Having spent 2 days in order to rest, he was familiar with the terrain. After arriving at the river, he realized there was a slight problem. He was alone this time. Catching fish was going to be more difficult. Wading into a knee-deep area, kunai in hand, Naruto stood as still as possible waiting for some fish to swim by. His patience was rewarded as a fat specimen lazily swam by his legs. Carefully taking aim, he deftly threw his kunai, and missed. "Shit, how did I miss that throw?" he wondered in disbelief. "Have you forgotten about light refraction? Yay. It's dark, I can't see very well. If you aim a little to the right, you should be able to hit one." Slightly skeptical, Naruto again stood waiting for an unsuspecting fish. Lady Luck seemed to be with him that day, for after a few minutes, another decent-sized fish swam up the river in search of less turbulent waters. "Calm, relaxed," Naruto repeated to himself, "and strike." Taking the demon's advice to heart, he aimed a little towards the right and was rewarded with the feeling of his kunai piercing the soft fish flesh. Brandishing his kill like a prize, Naruto started to think this training might not be so bad. All he had to do now was cook the fish. "No matches, great, how am I supposed to cook it?" complained the genin. "If the fire won't come to you, then you go to the fire," intoned Kyubi. "What kind of a stupid quote is that? That doesn't help. Simply put, use a fire-type jutsu." "Oh okay," started Naruto sarcastically, "I'll just use my ultra-secret Kaden jutsu that even I don't know about." "Before you get saucy with me, let me finish explaining. All fire-type jutsus begin with the horse and end with the tiger seals. Aside from that, think hot." Another mental wink. "Think hot, huh," the boy muttered to himself. After gathering some wood, Naruto relaxed in comfortable position, trying to clear his mind. After concentrating for a little bit, he initiated the jutsu. Horse. Tiger. Mimicking the way Sasuke performed his fire jutsus, Naruto placed his fingers to his lips and finished the technique. "Kaden. Kakyu no jutsu," he said, expelling his breath towards his pile of wood. Success. A small stream of flames erupted onto the wood, igniting it ablaze. Laughing at his newfound skill, Naruto realized the possibilities ahead of him. There were so many more jutsus he could learn, or even develop himself. Munching on his roasted fish, he chuckled at the thought of Sasuke's face once he would see he was not the only one who could perform Kaden jutsus. Stretching out after his meal, Naruto searched for a place to spend the night. He knew there were some wild animals that prowled around the woods at night. Also, some strange insects populated the area, like those huge centipedes. "You know," started the demon, "the safest place is usually in a tree." It was a while before Naruto fully understood what Kyubi was really trying to say. "Sadist," he muttered in defeat. Well, started Kakashi, since it seems like our teamwork has gone down the drain, we need to work to improve it. Reaching into his pouch, he produced a bell dangling from a thin cord which he then attached to his belt. Kakashi-sensei, we already know what the purpose of the bell exercise is for, remarked Sakura.
That's why there's only one bell, the instructor replied with a smile. I won't go easy like I did last time, so you guys will definitely have to work together to get the bell off of me. With this last statement complete, he pulled out his favorite book and started walking away. While Sakura maintained a bewildered expression of confusion, Sasuke stared at his sensei a calm set of eyes, as if he expected this new exercise. Naruto, on the other hand, looked plainly like he did not care, and this whole exercise was a waste of his time. Still, an exercise was an exercise, and if he wanted to resume his own training, he would need to complete this one. Realistically, I think the only way to stand a chance would be if we all attacked him at once in a coordinated manner, Sasuke mused out loud.
Naruto snickered at that. Don't you remember the Wave Country? He asked. Yay, replied Sasuke, irked at his partner's obvious contempt. Junins, at that level, don't fight each other directly. At the Uchiha's quizzical look, Naruto continued as if lecturing, most prefer to remain hidden and use clones instead of themselves. Yay, but we haven't seen Kakashi-sensei do any jutsus yet, said Sakura. Hey, I doubt he even needs to do the seal, he's probably hiding in the bushes right now. Casting a glance in his sensei's direction, Naruto saw him calmly leaning against one of the 3 wooden poles reading his book. I'll show you what I mean, he added. With his hands in his pockets, the blonde genin calmly strolled over to the area with the 3 poles. The gentle breeze that wafted over the training grounds definitely put meaning to the expression, calm before the storm. The memory of his genin exam flashed through his mind for a second. Hanging upside down from a tree was definitely not something he wanted to experience again. Damn, this is going to take a long time, he muttered to himself with a sigh. From his peripheral vision, Kakashi could tell his student had stopped a short distance away from him. He could also tell that the boy had assumed a fighting stance, but he could not clearly see from his angle. Looks like they're getting started, he thought to himself with a chuckle. So you've already noticed that it's a clone? Rumbled the demon deep within the bowels of Naruto's mind. Isn't it obvious? Was the response. I'm glad to see your training wasn't a waste, the demon replied softly. As he was taught, Naruto positioned his feet slightly more than shoulder length apart, left leg forward, bringing up his arms, right hand pointing down, left palm pointed towards Kakashi. He slowly exhaled the remaining air in his lungs. This stance provides you with both offensive and defensive capabilities, the Nine Tails lectured. Even weight distribution means you aren't restricted to either one. Downwards palm is for attack, and the upwards palm is for defense. Meanwhile, Naruto precariously maintained his balance on 2 of his fingers high in a tree. He did not have to bother too much with maintaining his balance, both his fingers and his control were greatly improved. While the demon lectured, he calmly listened, taking in every detail. Closing square bracket. It's now or never, he thought to himself. Racing towards his own sensei, Naruto seized the initiative and launched his first attack. Using 2 fingers, he thrust them at Kakashi, aiming for a pressure point on his side. As he had expected, though, the Junin was quick to sidestep. In a fluid motion, Kakashi grabbed his student's hand and meant to smash it into the pole he was leaning on. Fool, snickered Naruto to himself. With his other hand, Naruto stabbed his instructor's wrist, forcing him to let go. In a flash, he was inside his guard and had struck pressure points on either arm. Sasuke observed from a distance, shocked as Naruto reached back and thrust his open palm forward, transforming his sensei into a puff of smoke. Geez, how did he see through that? Sakura wondered out loud. Blind luck, was the jealous response. Clearly, Sasuke was still gripping with the fact that his teammate had long surpassed him. Ever since the Forest of Death, Naruto's strength and skill were drastically different. Damn, I still don't know where he's hiding, muttered the blonde genin. He's probably using genjutsu to hide in the bushes, growled Kyubi. Upon the demon's advice, Naruto clasped his hands together and began concentrating on the chakra sources in the area. He could clearly feel his teammates a little ways off, and he thought he sensed something to his right, but that could not be it. It was too obvious for it to be his sensei. He's sneaky, he thought to himself, setting up an extra illusion like that to throw me off. Did he already find me? Wondered Kakashi to himself. He could see Naruto unclasp his hands after his bout of extreme concentration. Through the leaves, he observed the genin take out a kunai and scan around his location. He did not like the way his exercise had started out. Even though it was still early, so far Naruto was the only one doing anything while Sasuke and Sakura stood around.
Suddenly, Naruto quickly whirled around towards his hiding spot and threw a kunai in his direction. Just a kunai? Don't tell me that's all you got. Kunai Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he heard Naruto shout, and the single kunai turned into 30, all heading straight at him.
I won't be able to dodge them all, I need to get out of here. Scrambling from his hiding place, Kakashi was barely in time as the kunais rained down into the bush he was hiding in. With all the racket I'm making, they've probably spotted me now. I can't believe he saw through both my clone and my illusion. What the, is that Kakashi-sensei in the bushes over there? Asked Sakura in wonder. You're right, boggled her teammate, I can't believe Naruto found him so fast. Shouldn't we go and do something? Staring off into space, Sasuke paused for a moment. Yay, follow me. Geez. What are those idiots doing? Grumbled the blonde genin as his teammates moved to intercept their instructor. They're just going to get in my way. Well, you know they won't stand a chance, stated the demon. Yay, but their useless efforts are annoying. Good, the demon projected with a mental smile. You know what to do. I don't understand why you keep telling me to give in to my anger, Naruto announced. Shinobis are supposed to keep their emotions in check. You of all people should know that. Only a fool would reject his emotions as a fuel for strength, Kyuubi replied, and there is much hate in you. I can sense it. Why are you doing this? Boy, it is my fault that you are hated so. It is only right for me to rectify the situation as best I can. If I give in too much I might lose control and do something I might regret. Your body is a strong enough vessel now, there should be no fear of that. Besides, there is nothing that you would do to these people that you should regret. They're the ones that treat you lower than dirt. Naruto watched in silence as Kakashi took care of his teammates. Although on one side, he knew he should go and join in, but the other side of him did not even want to lift a finger for these people. It was almost comical to watch the other genins try to attack their sensei, only to be blocked and pushed back. They really don't stand a chance, he thought to himself, and most likely, even I am still not strong enough. I wonder why Naruto hasn't joined in yet, pondered the Junin. Maybe he's going to ambush me. Nope, there he is now. To say that Naruto was hurrying would not have been accurate. He was not moving as fast as somebody whose teammates were being attacked, but it was not the same leisurely pace as before. Naruto, why aren't you attacking with your teammates? Because, and then he paused, they will only get in my way. Sheesh, that's totally not like him, Kakashi thought to himself, he's changed in the past weeks. You're completely missing the point of the exercise with that attitude, he said aloud. You and I both know teamwork doesn't matter in this setting. Peef, he's right too. The only way they'd get the bell is if I was unconscious, or unable to move. Teams are such a hassle, continued the genin. I can work much better if I'm not concerned with such burdens. Kakashi smirked at that last statement. Big words coming from the dead last graduate of the academy, he said with a slight snicker. Odd, he's not reacting to that. Not yet, cautioned the demon, do not give in just yet. On the outside he was calm and collected, but on the inside, Naruto was about ready to burst. Who did he think he was, insulting him openly like that? Well, this banter is useless. If you're going to do something, then do it. He's not using that weird stance from before. He's going to use ninjutsu. Let's get wild then, retorted the genin with a smirk and launched his hands into a series of seals. Kaden. Ryuken Enden no Jutsu. With his hands cupped to his mouth, two giant streams of flames flew out and circled around the Junin. There was no time to dodge and the fire erupted onto Kakashi in a yellow-orange light show. Naruto's smirk was quickly erased when a kunai was pressed to his neck. Not a bad technique for a genin, but not enough for me, said Kakashi nonchalantly. If you were using teamwork, I wouldn't be pressing this kunai to your neck. Hee, you seem so sure of yourself. Maybe you should use your Sharingan, replied Naruto as he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Geez, His jutsu speed is as fast as mine. This could get dirty. Kakashi had no more time to think as he felt two fingers pressed hard against the small of his back. Well, I'll admit you've gotten faster. From here, I have no less than 21 attack options open to me, stated Naruto in a taunting voice. What are you going to do now, sensei? Simple, was the reply. In another puff of smoke, the image of his instructor was replaced by that of a log. Although, that move was not surprising coming from the student of the fourth Hokage. What surprised him, though, was hearing his voice on his right side. Even without my Sharingan I was able to copy your skill, Kaden. Ryuken Enden no Jutsu. Crap, I won't have time to dodge, muttered Naruto in frustration. I'm going to have to counter it. There was no time to think. The twin flame spirals were closing fast. No time to decide what jutsu to perform. Instinct grabbed a hold of his reactions and his hands moved seemingly by themselves. The bird seal? Wondered Kakashi. He really has grown tremendously to be able to perform water types when there is no water around. Suiten. Suiheki Su no Jutsu. Naruto yelled out just in time. Before the flames could close in on him, two small walls of water appeared on either side of him, successfully countering a skill that he himself created. Meanwhile, Sasuke and Sakura were following the battle while clutching their minor wounds. I don't believe it, repeated Sakura yet again. This is like watching two Junins go at it. The ninjutsu level is incredible. I can't believe he can do earth, water, and fire types, muttered Sasuke. His improvement just isn't human. Naruto, I have to admit that I am jealous of you. Just how far have you come? Well, I'll admit that's pretty impressive of you, said Kakashi in his usual voice, but this is getting tiresome so I won't go easy anymore. Is that so? Replied the blonde genin. Well, I shouldn't either, he finished with a dark grin. He's been holding back too. Just what happened during that week he went missing. To be continued, and thank you for watching.